Alright guys, welcome back to another reaction video. We are going to react to Who Killed Masculinity in Video Games? By Andy Pants Gaming. I'm interested in what he has to say, and yeah, we will get into this. But first of all, you should subscribe and subscribe to the channel and like the video. It'd be a great help, and yeah, every little bit of support is appreciated. Whether you just like a video, whether you push that subscribe button, or whether you just watch the video. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys. Let's get into the video. First of all, who killed masculinity in video games? A predominantly female staff. When you look at staff members and like pictures, they are predominantly female. And I think that women, unfortunately, rarely can write really good male characters. Just like I don't think that a lot of like male like authors can write female characters. There, I think male authors can in fact write female characters better, but that's just me. Yeah, I feel like again it's an agenda that has been pushed. We'll just have to see what he says.
Does anybody else feel like masculinity has slowly been drained from modern video games? I was looking at recent...
See, he reinforces the stereotype that I have in my head.
Staff photos of Ubisoft
just older, middle-aged women.
And it's all starting to make sense. It's a bunch of fat, white, liberal women. And white...
The greatest enemy of society. White liberal ladies.
Liberal women have no interest in masculine, manly, male characters.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious, I guess. Makes sense, right?
This is why Rockstar, a company founded by men that at least in 2018 was still mostly run by men, created the magnum opus Red Dead Redemption 2, a game with a manly,
what a good game, man. What a good game.
If you want to see the seismic shift away from masculine characters, honestly, all you need to do is play a few games from 2006, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Consider how many masculine military games came out in the 2000s. Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, Brothers in Arms, Gears of...
You know why? Because they didn't try to sell us the myth that 50% of women, 50% of gamers are women, which is not true. Again, I believe in the statistics that Capcom has provided with the voting stuff, where they voted, and from that we found out that about 80% of players that play Capcom games are male and 20% are female, around that. It's a little less than 20%, I think it's like 18 point something, and then men was 82 point something. I do in fact think that that goes for most genres in video games, that it's 80-20. Yeah, back then games were more catered to men, and now they try to get everyone, but they utterly fail because... Let's say you wanted to hire 50-50 in a certain like job group. For example, for like the industry, for like something like doing like metal stuff or something like that. And you want a 50-50%. That cannot work if you don't also have like, and like across the industry, but you don't have like 50-50%, 50-50% men and women. You have 80% and men and 20% women. How are you going to get 50% women in every like corporation? That's in every like what is it, company? That's not gonna work. And here we have the same problem. We think that there's 50% of gamers are women, but that's just not the case.
War, Operation Flashpoint, Rainbow Six,
Medal of Honor was such a good game.
Splinter Cell was also great. All of these games were starring men and had themes like brotherhood, duty, sacrifice, honor. Almost all of these franchises have either been killed off, turned into multiplayer games.
Yeah, there was no Medal of Honor. Though Medal of Honor was so great. The multiplayer from Medal of Honor, I played so much with my younger brother. That was just great, dude.
Modern games appeal to me, and I think another big reason is this. Everything is just so gay now. Compare the games I just mentioned to the modern trash we have to deal with in Overwatch and Apex. Almost every character in these new games is either gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans, or something else. Like,
For those specific games, it's actually true. I mean, even for Concord. Though this time for Concord, it really backfired because yeah, you get the idea that we already have a hero shooter that does that, and the other ones were already pre-established.
what happened to a masculine
Duke
dude with a
Nukem.
hot chick on his arm? I love the idea of Xbox Game Pass, but I swear every time I open it up and look for new games, there's just so many games that look gay now. I refuse to play another cutesy 2D platformer or a game with a cutesy art style by some indie developer anymore. I'm just done with these games. If you want my
Though they are better
100%
games at
real thoughts on
times,
this,
most of the
I
time.
just think the entire video game industry has gone woke and gay, and almost nothing they are making appeals to me in any way anymore. So this is why I mostly play.
That's mostly for I think triple A titles don't appeal to me anymore. The only games that do appeal to me is some indie games, mainly the monster taming genre, and then Japanese games.
20-year-old games on my channel because they were just better. I was recently reading an
They
insider
were better because they were made also on limit. They are not just better because of the themes. They're also better because they were made on limited hardware, and because you have limited hardware, you had to find creative ways to do what you wanted to do. And nowadays, everything gets pushed into graphics, and then you get a mediocre game. That's just how it is. And sometimes it's not even that, because then you get things like Star Wars Outlaws, which are a buggy mess.
Interview about what went down at Volition Studios with the disastrous Saints Row reboot from an
That
inside
is
source.
that Saints Row.
This source said that the LGBTQ community within the company was
pathetic.
actually pretty small, but they are the loudest and the most annoying, and the company leadership chose to promote these people into key roles.
Aww.
And that's how you get the absolute dumpster fire of a game that was Saints Row 2022. I think what you have at a lot of these
Dear
games...
God, just make games. Make games for the love of games. Not because you want to push a political agenda.
Studios is about 80% of the staff is probably just hetero dudes trying to do their job.
Pretty
but they're
much.
afraid of speaking up or saying what they actually think. And then you have the LGBTQ folks making decisions about what kind of game to make. And everything just ends up being safe and soft and sensitive because, oh, we can't hurt anybody's feelings.
Sounds like the VTuber community a lot, actually.
So, of course, you get these shitty dumpster fire video games that nobody wants to play.
Concord.
After reading a lot of insider interviews with these developers, this is my sense of what has been happening.
Dustborn, the new game by Sony, is that Alyssa McConaughey?
Oh god! Right now between games journalists.
That is Alyssa McConaughey, Kotaku. Oh, no, I hate this woman. I cannot stand her.
White liberal women at game studios and the LGBTQ community at game studios. And they all seem to be united around one thing. They actually hate gamers. And who are gamers? Overwhelmingly,
men.
Well, heterosexual dudes like us, of course. This recent Reddit thread was written by an actual game developer and made me realize this. It reads, headline,
"Am I allowed to say this? I kinda hate gamers. I'm a professional game designer, and I'm worried that I'm starting to hate gamers. Watching the gaming events on YouTube last month with the chat on was extremely disheartening experience. Every time a character that wasn't a cis-het white man appeared on screen, the chats would fill with messages."
Also, I am 100% saying that cis is a slur. Because everything can be a slur if it is used in a derogatory way, which in this case it is.
Calling the game woke or complaining about DEI. Every game that wasn't a shooter or a hyper-casual competitive online game garnered zzz and boring comments. I've seen people implying that the MC in Fable trailers is ugly because it's a self-insert of some random level.
Fable characters per se were never like pretty. But I don't think that's what Fable is like meant to represent. I only hate the one fact I hate about the new Fable though, is the fact that it's probably going to be an open world game, and I've seen enough open world games. Give me Fable like it is in Fable 2. I like that kind of version
Level
of Fable.
designer working at Playground whom they deemed not fuckable enough. I don't know. It's just the internet magnifying negative voices, I guess, doing what it does best. But it's making me real tired of gamers.
So at this point, it seems that games journalists and all of the liberal LGBT mafia that work at game studios actually hate their audience.
They do.
And this
If I saw like I think was it a Concord developer? I haven't seen that ref video yet. It was a Concord developer who said, I think it was a Concord developer that said, they're just mad that they won't have any games to play. If that doesn't push the idea that, if that doesn't prove the idea that they do hate gamers, male heterosexual gamers, I don't know what is, in fact.
This is a comment I keep reading from you guys again and again. I swear they literally hate us. They seem to be dead set on giving their audience exactly what we don't want. How long is your business going to be open if you're dead set on not giving the customer what they want?
Concord.
This is why when skanks like Alyssa Mercante are crying about Kotaku shutting down and losing their jobs, and game studios are going under because they were associated with Sweet Baby Inc., I just laugh.
Good.
Let them burn. Let all these companies burn who
don't give them their money.
The wonderful irony in all this
money.
is that it's the very games that the woke cancel mob has tried to cancel that seem to do the best. Remember Hogwarts Legacy? Yeah, men who dress in women's clothes tried to get it canceled. Instead, the game sold 25 million copies. Oops. Remember Elden Ring? Remember how the woke mob tried to accuse FromSoft games of having, quote, problematic depictions of women? Oops. Sold 25 million copies. At this...
Wukong. Oops. One of the most successful single-player games on Steam. Whoops. Oopsie. That didn't go as well.
An offensive game seems to guarantee that game's success. We could talk about Stellar Blade, pissing off all of the liberal progressives, and yet everybody went out and bought it. Okay, so in the rest of this video, I want to give you four
Though they did
examples
censor it at one point, and then the community pounded them into the ground, so Sony into the ground, so they had to undo it.
Series going from masculine to feminine or gay, and it basically either killed or ruined the franchise. Number 1, Ubisoft and Red Storm Entertainment. So Red Storm Entertainment was a video game company founded...
Ubisoft is in a difficult situation, because they are losing money. They are losing money, in fact. They are losing so bad money that the investors are getting active.
Founded by the legendary
and that has
Tom
something
Clancy
to say.
To make Tom Clancy video games. He sold the company to Ubisoft in the year 2000, and Ubisoft in the 2000s actually had some balls and made some of the manliest games you've ever seen. There were the Splinter Cell games, the Ghost Recon games, the Rainbow Six games, and the Far Cry games. All of these games pretty much feature exclusively men, and these IPs in the 2000s had so much testosterone, just a single glance from a woman in their direction would get her pregnant. I mean, motherfucking Sam Fisher.
That is actually good. That was great. Oh, that was wild.
Come on. The dude is the ultimate Giga Chad. Scott Mitchell in Ghost Recon. Now, you pick your own character in Far Cry 2, but it's definitely a manly game that will put hair on your chest. So what is Red Storm Entertainment up to today? Well, I recently saw that Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland is being led by a man who dresses in women's clothes in his free time. Now, look, I don't give a shit if you want to identify as a dragon and go around laying magic eggs, but can we agree that the least masculine thing on earth you can do is dress in women's clothes? Tom Clancy would be rolling over in his grave.
I think I agree with him, but it's also a bit harsh. There are genuine trans people out there, but clearly. But there's also a lot of men out there who dress in feminine clothes, who LARP as trans women, who actually just have autogynephilia. That does also exist. Now, we cannot provide which one is which. That's the problem right now. But there is a chance that some trans women are actually not trans women, but have autogynephilia.
grave right now if he knew the absolute disaster that Red Storm Entertainment had become. Number 2, Wolfenstein. So I was recently
Wokenstein.
playing Wolfenstein The New Order for the first time, which came out in 2014. And I have to say, of all the games I was sure were going to avoid woke Western progressivism, this game was pretty high up there. The first 3 entries of the reboot were all fantastic. They had the badass BJ Blazkowicz, an absolute unit, as the main character, ripping apart entire armies of Nazis with the sexy and smart Anya as his arm candy and wife. Machine Game's first 3 Wolfenstein entries, which came out in 2014, 2015, and 2017, are all great. They have normal men and women doing normal shit in them. Awesome. But of course, the woke mob had to get involved somehow. So you have a beloved series with a beloved, tough, male, manly main character. Do you suppose it's a good idea to kill off that guy and replace him with cringy girl boss characters?
What
Wolfenstein
the hell?
Youngblood came out in 2019, and it's an absolute tone-deaf disaster. So many modern video games, I find myself asking, who wanted this? Who asked for this? I often ask the same thing of the new Star Wars shows by Kathleen Kennedy.
And the problem isn't even, like, putting, like, women as, like, characters in video games. The problem is that they're written badly. I said it before and I'll say it again. The problem of these characters is that they're of minority characters or women in video games, even as main characters, is that they are badly written. They are horrible characters. They are usually portrayed horrible. Let's take Abby from The Last of Us 2. Nobody likes that chick. Why do you force me to play as her? I don't want to. And the moment I had to, the moment she killed Joel, the moment Joel got killed, and I had to play as her, I dropped the game. Immediate. I just dropped it. I couldn't care less. And I haven't touched it since then. It's putting in characters for money, for funding, for DEI funding, into games that makes them bad, because those characters are not written well. They're just there to get a ticket box. That's it.
As well. The Wolfenstein reboot had the perfect synergy of story and gameplay. You are BJ Blazkowicz, unleashing his rage on the Nazis for killing everyone he loved. You see this come across in his brutal assassinations.
And a lot of people agree with like 200
a rusty pipe through the eye
likes.
socket of an SS Waffen commander. But the setup to Wolfenstein Youngblood is incredibly cringe. In it, you play as BJ's daughters, and they're honestly nothing like him. The first time you kill somebody, they don't really want to do it, and when they finally kill the guy, they have to have lattes and talk about it afterwards. Youngblood is a perfect example of how a cutscene can go so wrong in a game. BJ's setup is perfect and explains to you why you're doing the actions you're doing. BJ's daughters, however, are acting like they're in an episode of Big Bang Theory the whole time, but oh yeah, they just happen to be killing Nazis, and haha, isn't this so funny? It's tonally all over the place and just so full of cringy and awful cinematics, which is ironic because the cinematics in the first 3 games were,
I have not played that game.
good and short, and
And
they got
the more
to
I look at it,
and they were
the
really
less I want to play it.
and impactful. Example number 3, Gears of War. For a full explanation of how the woke mob girl-bossed Gears of War, see my video on that game, but I'll keep this short. The first 3 Gears games are an incredible trilogy focusing on the bonds and brotherhood between men. They are incredibly masculine games, focusing on duty and sacrifice and military orders. And I know some of you hate this, but for 10,000 years, it's only been men fighting wars. Sorry. The first 3 games focus on Marcus, Dom, Cole, and Baird and tell a masculine story of brotherhood. Well, the progressive woke mob somehow got to Gears of War, and Gears 4 and 5 are about sisterhood, motherhood, being a traitor, and what it feels like to be a woman. They introduced the character of Kate Diaz, who I don't think anybody gives a single fuck about. What they should have done is put Kate in a spin-off game, not a mainline Gears entry. But here's the problem, of course, nobody would have bought it. So unfortunately, Gears 4 and 5 are basically girl boss, feminist Gears of War. In any,
I would say that not put it in a spin-off game. Make her a good. You can add her, like, you can add her, sure. But make her a good character. Just make her a good character. I think what his problem is that the games that he played that were specifically tailored to men should have stayed tailored to men. And I agree with that fact. If you make a new franchise and you want to make it tailored to both, do that. But if you have an established franchise that is mostly tailored to men, just keep it the way it is.
Masculine story about men is put on the back burner. Of course, the games include Baird and Marcus in them, but they're really on the back burner. And Gears is now about Kate Diaz, who I've never talked to a Gears fan even cares about. Moving on, example number 4, the Saints Row reboot. Saints Row spent 10 years building up characters and building up a very distinctive and edgy and male sense of humor. It's the kind of stuff you and the guys would laugh at. Some of the recurring characters in Saints Row are Johnny Gat, Julius, Aisha, Shondi, and several others. In these games, the men are men and the women are women. Johnny is edgy and hilarious and always has a hot chick on his arm. The humor is crude and hilarious, and the Saints are always getting into trouble. So what went wrong with the reboot? Well, the woke 2022 reboot thought it was a good idea to kill off every single character from the old Saints Row.
That cannot work. That works rarely. That cannot work. That was a mistake.
Games, and I guess they thought we would be cool with that. But don't worry, all of the beloved characters you've come to know and love have been replaced with tokenistic characters from a literal seminar on diversity. You've got the gay Asian man, the girl boss lesbian, another girl boss lesbian, and the gay black guy. The LGBTQ mafia didn't just kill Saints Row, they crucified it on a rainbow flag. And this
basically,
is what you
in
get,
this case,
guys. This is what you fuckers get for supporting.
Yeah. But guess what, Andy? Guess what? The dudes that worked on this game, the dudes that programmed this game, they got punished, not the executives. They got moved to another project. They will find a new job.
Supporting these people. They turn out shitty games that aren't funny, that aren't cool, that aren't masculine. So stop hiring these people. Game developers need to stop putting gay stuff in games, and they need to fire every liberal white woman if they want us to ever buy a game again. Because I'm serious.
They need to make games. No. Game developers need to be game developers. I don't think even that the problem is that the problem starts with like liberals. I think the problem starts with game developers not even being game developers anymore. I think that's where the problem even starts. How does somebody who does not make games, has no interaction with the gaming community, know how to make a game? That's the problem.
We are done with this shit. We're not buying these games. Like, Phil Spencer is out here complaining about how people aren't spending as much money on games anymore. I guarantee if you give us hetero dudes hot chicks in games again and manly men, you will see sales go through the roof. Bring back the glory days of video games. I have this theory that in a few years, we're going to see a turn back to the golden era of video games, and people are going to start buying games again.
I don't.
I recently saw this crazy chart from 2023 that basically showed that people are only playing old games these days.
Yep.
Nobody wants to play anything that's
literally
new out
Fortnite
right now because it's all woke and it all sucks so bad. So anyway, guys,
I think, and I'm gonna say it like this, I think that if we don't stop DI and Bridge, that this will only get worse. And eventually, you will comply with it. Because what else are you gonna play? Are you gonna stop playing video games? I doubt it, that you will. Anyways, guys, I kind of understand some positions. I think he's just very blunt about it. He's like me, because this video could have literally come from me. I think is correct in some points that games are very like soft nowadays. They are not like as like there to offend, which is always a bad thing. Because if you're scared to offend, you don't have an opinion anymore. That's just my opinion, though. But I do disagree with some points. A woman in a masculine game does not mean that the game is bad. It always depends on how the female character is depicted. That goes for any other like thing, like a gay character, a trans character. It always depends on how they are depicted. If they are just depicted as that, and that is their only thing, like being gay or being a woman, then they are a bad character. Because I can even identify with female characters if they are as a man if they are written well, which most of these characters aren't written well nowadays. Like even the men aren't written that well written anymore. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the reaction, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.